So, welcome. We have with us our parenting specialist, Reverend Carleen Rickard, and she has done tremendous, extensive work as it relates to parenting, not just here in Jamaica, but all across. She has traveled extensively. In an interview that both ourselves were present at recently on one of Jamaica's radio station, national radio station, she was identified, and I concur, as one of Jamaica's national treasure. And I am happy to be interviewing her today to just share a little bit about parenting for those parents who are watching. We want to encourage you, we want to motivate you, we want to support you, and we want to guide you. So I want you to make welcome with me Reverend Carleen Rickard. Reverend Carleen Rickard, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be on this program and to be share something of my journey with all of you wonderful parents who are listening out there.
Yes, thank you. We are so happy to have you. Tell us though, Reverend Carleen, how this journey for you started.
It's incredible. I was reflecting on it, because I'm a science teacher and I like to work I'm from the middle of England, known as the Midlands near Birmingham. I went and did my training in Yorkshire and it was well cold. But I started to work in the primary school and it was all white parents, some of the lecturers' children, and I went in to work with the children. But I decided I was not going to work with any child unless I work with the parents, even the lecturers, my lecturers and tutors. And they got involved and they liked me. I went to train as a science teacher. In Yorkshire, I was given 3 jobs and I thought, no, Cole and I are not friends. So I went back to the Midlands, which was cold, but not as cold as Yorkshire. And I got involved again, I got 3 jobs. And I chosen to go into a community where there were underachievement, mostly ethnic minorities. And I want to involve the parents. So I got the parents. At first, they were a bit hesitant, especially Black parents, because they thought their child is in a class and they were getting A. And I'm trying to get them in a class where they would get C. But the 8th grade was a class where there were special needs. So the C in the class that I was putting them in was far more beneficial than being in special needs. So I insisted they had to work with me. And I worked with these parents. And I got more and more involved. And then I started to do lots of work. I started a Saturday school in England called KJ Academy. Funny enough, people thought it meant Carleen Rickard Academy before Academy became commonplace in England, but in fact it's called King Jesus Academy. And the parents then started to come, and sometimes the parents didn't want to leave, at all.
Yes.
So a lady from America came with a program, Strengthening Families, Strengthening Communities, with the REU, which is Equal Opportunity. And I said, okay, I'm gonna go and train for that course. And I trained for that course, and I did. And I said after I did it, we had to run a program before we become qualified with parents. And I said, I'm the first one gonna run this thing in England. And I took one of the participants who actually worked for the REU. And after that, they actually invited me, the REU, to go to Atlanta to present in parenting to 2,000 men. I thought, wonderful. And I went to Atlanta and I presented, and that's when I met Janet Brown, who's a parenting specialist here, and also her husband, who's now deceased, who used to work for the Gleaner. And they were very impressed. And the evaluation, they thought I was very good, my dictionary was good, everything. But they thought the program was not that great, the content. But I thought, I can't be blamed for that. I present what I was given. So I started to work on my own program. And guess what? At that conference was Nelson Mandela. And, he presented me. And I went back to England. I wrote my own program, Empowerment for Parenting. And I started to train up parents all over England. One of the time I went to Germany to actually present the parenting. Remember, I don't speak German. I'm just coming to speak English as good as you wonderful parents. But you know, so I decided to go to Germany, and it was so fantastic because I'm coming out of a situation where I was totally paralysis. So managing steps and all that was a difficulty. And I watched when that small plane landed, and this massive machine came, and they hoisted the machine in line with where the pilot was at that door. I just stepped onto that, and it went down to ground. I said, "Oh, I like this. I like this traveling and this special treatment." And just relating to people about parenting, because it's so wonderful when you get to know your parent, your children, and you relating to them, not just sending them to school and giving them the books and so on. They want to know that they're loved. They know that you understand them. They want to know that you have a relationship. Nobody learns from anybody if you haven't got a relationship. And for one thing, I know that boys are very practical. They're not like girls, where you can put things on the chalkboard and things. So you have to get fathers. So I tell you, I was working with a father in England. He's a lecturer from Barbados, and his son was not very good at math. And he was getting very cross. And I said, you know, sir, and he was doing angles and triangles. I said, you know what you do for me, sir? I want you to go to your back garden because you've got lots of shrubs there. And I want you and him to make 2 catapults. I said, do you know anything about catapult? He said, Sister Rickard. Of course I know about, in that lovely Bayesian accent. and they did 2 catapults. And they decorated and they had fun. So he's looking at me and said, this lady, she's not right. But she's going to teach him maths with catapult. I said, all right, now we're going to go inside. And I want you, young man, to get a plain piece of paper. And I want you to put the catapult flat on that paper and draw around it. And so you got a Y-shaped catapult on the paper. I said, all right, I want you to get your protractor now. And we're going to look at the angles. Right in the inside of that V, you've got an acute angle. And guess what? On the back side at the bottom, you've got an obtuse angle. And if you go right around the obtuse and the acute, you've got 360. So you got a whole 360. However, you've got that long stick going at the bottom and the Y shape at the top. If you now break the side of the Y shape and bring it to the side and draw a bottom that links the long bottom, if you're following me, to what you broke, now you got a right angle triangle. And if you use your protractor, you can measure that and you can see you got your 90 degrees, your 45, 45. And then we went on to, isosceles triangle. And therefore, he got an interest in. And I realized that working with parents and working with their fathers especially, and working with practical things. For instance, I had some boys, they call themselves recidivists. They've been in prison, they've stabbed. One boy, I said to you, why did you stab the little girl? Have you got any regrets? No, miss. The only regret I had, I didn't stab him through the heart. I said, no, man, that can't. So you know, guys, they like showing off. And I'm working with the parents very closely. And I said to the guys, I want you to, because photography is my hobby, I said, I want you to shoot yourself in your trainers, and I got the parents involved and looking good and so on, because I'm going to teach you maths. And so you're going to, because before you have your digital camera, we had to go into the dark room and develop all of this stuff and then print it using chemicals. So they went and they had the best trainers and the tracksuit, and they did some pose, and I gave them some Zenith camera. These cameras were very heavy. They came from Russia. If you hit each other, they're going to knock out each other. So I said, that suits you. And I got a Minolta camera, and I went around and I did all the pictures and pictures of families and so on. And guess what? We went into the dark room, and I said, no, this is the development, this is the water, and this is what you need to do, etc. And I did it with my tank, and they said, no, Miss Rickard, you dash a little here, and you dash a little there, and so I said, go on, you dash. And when I developed my negatives, they were perfectly balanced and everything, and all they had were black negatives. Oh, Miss Rickard, oh, Miss Rickard, can we do it again? Can we do it again, Miss Rickard? So you know that now we were teaching them because they want to learn, and they want to involve their parents, and they want to show their parents what they're doing, and their parents to be more involved. So they went out and they did it. Now, when I came back now, I'm saying, no, this is the measuring cylinder, and this is the developing solution, and you need to put X amount of the solution to X amount of water, and that is known as ratio. So I'm teaching mathematical principle. I said, now, if you look when the water is inside, or the liquid inside the measuring cylinder, is drawn up at the side. So if you read at the top of the side, you're missing a part of the volume, because the volume, the middle of the liquid is lower. It forms a concave. You need to look at the bottom of where the concave is, which is known as the meniscus. So the new words. So they did it because now they requested it, and they did all of that. And now they got an interest in learning about maths and ratio and so on. Now we came to the printing. I said, look, lighting. We did that in darkness. And now to print up with the photography paper, we go black if you put the ordinary light on it, because inside that light, you got a gas called argon. And it's an inert gas. So they're learning about periodic table and gas and so on. And so I said it will go black. So we couldn't use a red light because it's got neon gas and it also got gas. But guess what? We can use sodium. And sodium light is the yellow light that just is vaporization. So when they were doing all of this, they now want to get involved their parents, and I could take the pictures to show their parents what they were doing. And so from that organization, so many young boys, in fact, I'll tell you a story. I was actually and I started to work with this young man and his parents. He didn't want to know anything about his parents before. And now one day I was walking around a place called Hackney, and I heard, Miss Ricard, a young man in a suit and tie and looking absolutely handsome. And I said, who are you? Miss Ricard, what you going on with? I am Trevor, you work with me. And guess what, Miss Ricard, I'm going for an interview now. And my mom is ever so proud of me, and I've got a girlfriend. So that was the earliest start. And then I went back into school in a different borough. And I just started with parents. I did a competition where I wrote a parenting program, and I got a Millennium Award for that. And from then on, I wrote my own parenting program. And whichever school I went to, because I work in an organization where my job was to put teachers to support young people with limited English in the subject of science. But at that time, I also engaged the parents. And as long as I got the parents involved, the children did so tremendously. So from there, I just went on doing parents. And eventually, guess what? I became the parenting specialist under the Archbishop of Canterbury in the United Kingdom for the Christian and Muslim Society. And I was a Christian parenting specialist. And there was a colleague, she was the Muslim parenting specialist. And we would go different parts of England talking about the essence of parents and importance. And one day, I don't know what got into my head. I thought perhaps this position is too big for me. So I actually resigned, and I know God had placed me in this position. And I resigned, and they said, are you sure? And I said, yes. So after I resigned, I had an encounter with the Lord. I'm sure it was the Lord. He said to me, what are you doing? Because whilst I was in the organization, a lot of Muslims were coming to me and bowing down at my knee and wanted to know about parenting and family and things. And I thought, I'll get into trouble. They should be going to their Muslim people and Imam. Why are they coming to me? I will get trouble. So that's why I resigned. And the Lord said, I put you there to do a work. So I went back to the PA to the Archbishop of Canterbury. And I said, can I come back? And he laughed at me and he said to me, oh, you must be joking. From the moment you resigned, there were 6 people who were after your position. It was hard for us to choose. And furthermore, he made a comment. He said, furthermore, I don't know how you got into that position anyway. And I know it was God that placed me there. So then the Lord laid on my heart that the next stop was to come to Jamaica. And I came down to Jamaica and I joined a particular church, and I was there sitting down, not troubling anyone, just ordinary service. And somebody talked about something around parenting. And the next thing, I was appointed as the director of parenting here. And I ran a conference and again, taught a lot of parents. And I've just been involved in so many things. And God had given me this book A to Z of Parenting 207 in Negril. And, you know, doing that, A to Z of Parenting.
We're gonna take a break, Reverend Carlene, and when we come back, we want to hear more about that A to Z of parenting.
Okay, then. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Okay, thank you very much. As I was saying, I went to Negril at one point, and God woke me up one morning. I was in a hotel there, and He gave me to the A to Z of parenting, and I just penned the word, literally penned the word. The security was about 3 o'clock in the morning. The security said, "Lady, what are you doing now?" I said, "I'm on a mission." Anyway, I went back to England, and it needed to be illustrated. So I asked in my church, Worldwide Mission Fellowship, was there any illustrator? They told me of this young lady. So I went across to her and said, "Can you illustrate this book? Because it's only text." She said, "Okay, I will meet you next Sunday in the vestibule." I said, "All right then." I went and I sat down, and she came at the door. She was rather tall, well-built young lady. But she came with an equally tall young lady, seemingly older, but slim. And they came across to me and they said, she said to me, "This is my sister, my older sister, and she's an illustrator. And I believe the Lord is saying we should use her." And I said, "All right." I gave her the book, and she illustrated the book beautifully. If you know, when she did that, people in the church were shocked because they didn't even know she could illustrate. I started to work with even her and her mother and just praying them through and helping them to go through, because she was only 16, 17 at the time. She went on to be an illustrator, an international illustrator, and her mom is very proud of her. And so that book became very popular. Now, when I came to Jamaica, laid on my heart, the Lord was saying that this should go into a song so that children can listen to it. And, you know, when they're in the car with their family, it can be a CD and so on. So I went to a lady in the church I was going to, and I said, "Can this go into a song, a book, you know?" And she looked at me and she kind of said, smiled as if to say, "Lady, haven't you got any sense? How can I put this book in a song?" And I said, "All right then." So I said, "The Lord says," and I believe what the Lord says. So one day I sat there and Dr. Jermaine came, an activity, a Sunday evening, and the Lord said, "That's the man." And I said, "Well, I don't know him. He's a big star. How can I go to this big star and ask him to do this thing? I don't know him. He doesn't know me." Anyway, as I sat there, he went out to his car for something. I went outside and I followed him towards the car. And as he was there, and I said, "Sir, can we put this into a song?" And amazingly, he didn't reject me and say, "Go away," or whatever it is. You know, he gave me his number. And I thought, okay, I sat down. I said, I would phone him. Would you believe between that and coming home, I'd lost the number? And I thought, oh gosh, I can't go and ask Pastor to give me this person's number. He might think I'm presumptuous. What am I going to do? Now, on the Saturday of that week, there was another lady having a conference at the Shortwood Teachers Training College. And I was invited to bring some of my books there. And would you believe, my good parents and listeners, who had the stall next to me? Dr. Jermaine Gordon. I thought, amazing. Some young people had come and set up his stall. And I said, "Whose stall is it?" And he was a keynote speaker. And then I said, "Sir, I'd lost your number. And, you know, could I have?" I said, "Of course." And from then we started to work on the song. He came by me and we put the song together, put the music, and the rest is history, the beautiful song. I don't know if you want to share a bit of that song with them, Dr. Jermaine. And so we continue to
That would be good. I'm sure the viewers would enjoy a bit of it.
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay, so if you're just joining us, we are having a chat with Reverend Carlene Rickard, and she wears several hats. She is a grief counselor, a retired teacher from out of the UK who returned to Jamaica with the mandate of teaching parenting to inner city parents. But upon her arrival, she realized that parenting is not an inner city issue in Jamaica, it is a national crisis. She's also a parenting specialist, and she works with the Lovers Hands Foundation, and she's a member of the board, and she was giving us her story. So we're going to continue with Reverend Carlene.
Yeah, as I was saying, lovely listeners and participants, this wonderful sunny Jamaican evening. I actually, the position as a director in the church that I attend was given to somebody else. And I thought, Lord, what is happening? Because I walked away from that position in England. Is it now that you're teaching me a lesson or something? I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I left it. I continue to be a part of my church and so on, and not interfering with anything. And a lady phoned up to me and said, why were you not at the meeting? I was like, who is this lady? I said, what meeting? She said, yes, you're on the board. You should be at the meeting. I thought, oh, what's this lady going on with? Anyway, somebody has phoned me. And then eventually I discovered who, it has to be God, put me on the board of a parenting place for Standpipe, where, as I was saying, there's a parenting place now established across the whole of Jamaica, where they have a school and a church, a school of police, 2 organizations or 3, and they decide among themselves to become a parenting place. Then they register with the organization. And in that parenting place, the parents will have a time when they can come, and they can come either for counseling, for parenting skills, for computer skills. It's just a phenomenal concept. But here I found myself on the board of a number of professionals. In fact, the 12 of us on the board, there's 6 medical doctors, there's 4 reverend, apart from myself, and that white lady with whom, Janet Brown, that I met in Atlanta all those days. And we're actually on the board of this parenting place in Standpipe Parenting Place. And I work extensively with Dr. Gordon, where we go around and we talk to different organizations about effective parenting. Because it's not enough to buy your children gadgets and things and give them space. For instance, one of the things that I often looked about is the temperament, and it's so important in understanding the temperament of your children. And for instance, a child who's got a temperament of distractibility, you could buy that child the best tablets, and in the best room at the back of where television and lots of noises and lots of things happening, that child is going to underachieve because everything that comes in that room, that child is distracted because they got a temperament that says, I've got an innate part of my DNA that's distractible. The other thing that I often say to parents, you may have 2 children, and one is getting straight A, and one is getting C+. And you might be saying, look, why aren't you doing as good as your brother and get A, and you're discouraging that child? What you don't realize, I'm gonna use cars as an analogy. If you got a Rolls Royce can do about 120 or whatever it is miles an hour. And you've got a Mini can only do probably about 70 miles an hour. You take your 2 children, one's a Rolls Royce and one a Mini. Now, if the Rolls Royce is doing 100 miles, you're very happy. And you're awarding that child A and people award, but that child is underperforming because he's performing 40 units less than he could do. Whereas the child who's a Mini can only do 70 and now is doing 65. That child is almost maximum. And because you're comparing the children and not understanding their temperament, you're deflating that child, and you're killing their confidence and their self-esteem. So it's important for me to be working with parents to have a better understanding of their children, to understand their temperament, to understand their love language, and so on. So because of all of that, I got more and more involved working with Dr. Jermaine to get involved with children, because a lot of children are underachieving because we as parents don't understand them. We don't understand their love language,
I like the fact that you said that, Reverend Colin, because there are parents who might be wondering what is the significance of having a parenting specialist or someone who parent the parents. So I'm happy you said that.
Yes. So as I was touching on love language, you take, for instance, a child who loves affirmation is one of the affirmation, giving gifts and so on. A child who loves affirmation. Now, that child, you only give gifts. That child is not interested in gifts, he's interested in affirmation. And sometimes you see some, and I'm not saying, I'm not giving you license or anybody license to do this, but sometimes some people get beaten up and you said, you know, that person is always beating you up. Why are you going there? Well, because that person knows how to affirm that other person, and that makes them feel good about themselves. Not just giving gifts and taking them placing, but affirmation. So once you understand affirmation or the different love language, or also developmental stages, you understand, for instance, a child up to about 5, they tell lies. It's a stage that they pass through. Please don't cause it. You're a lie, bum, bum, bum. You're a lie, you shouldn't tell a lie. No, no, no. Jermaine, that's not how it goes. This is what happened, because I was in a parenting session once and it was a doctor. And because she knew the principle and what happens in developmental stages, she said she cried when a little 5-year-old said to the rest of the family, her mother and other people, Mommy did this and this and this, and almost saying that her mother hurt her. And she wanted to shout and said, you're a liar, I didn't do that. But because she knows that this is a stage the child is going through, and what you have to do is to teach her the right thing, instead of accuse her as a liar, and then you continue indwell that in terms of lioness. For instance, a 7, around 7, 9, they like to negotiate. So, you know, you got your son as a, you know, if you sweep the yard, I will allow you to do this. Or if you do, they're operating in a negotiation frame for that time. So if you understand that, you don't say, go and do this. At your age, you must take responsibility. You negotiate. You know, I will give you some money. I will cook your favorite meal. Or if you do this something special and clean up the car, I will cook your favorite meal of couscous or whatever it is, and rice and chicken and so on. So when you understand the developmental stages of your child, you know how to handle each one of them. And so that's why I get to working with parents so much, because once you understand developmental stage, once you understand temperament, when you understand how to praise, for instance, and as it says in the song, you look them in the eye, Jermaine, oh, the way you've cut your hair and you've really sorted out, it makes you look so handsome. Well done, son. You confirming him, and you say, Jermaine, I like the way you did your maths, and you get your computation well, you were able to add and whatever. Now, Jermaine, good boy, you've done your homework, go on. But you're very specific of what you're praising him about, and you look him in his eyes, and you call him by his name, and you say, well done. Oh, you did that so well, and you praise him first, and you say,